Hello and welcome to the number one championship podcast, the second tier. I'm Ryan Dilks, and this is our reaction straight off the back of Sunderland's 2-1 win at Coventry in the playoff semi-finals. Sunderland's first win in Coventry in 40 years, by the way, which is a pretty insane stat, but we'll talk about that very shortly. I'm, of course, joined by the Luco 9 to my Dan Ballard. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Justin, that was one hell of a contest, wasn't it? But hold your horses just yet. We've got a lot to discuss from that game, haven't we? But before we get on to it, we've got a big prize to once again give away to one lucky winner. That's because we're giving away a Jameson bottle and Puma ball to one lucky winner tonight. All you have to do is leave a comment and we'll pick a winner to be announced at the end of the show. It really is as easy as that. So get involved in the conversation throughout the show. We'll read out some of your comments along the way. But yeah, if you do comment, you may be in with a chance of winning a Jameson bottle and Puma ball. UK only, 18 plus. T's and C's apply. Click the link for a description with a full list of full T's and C's. Right, we've got the admin out of the way, Justin. Let's talk about the game itself. It was a bit of a roller coaster one, really, wasn't it? Where it looked like it was going to be a bit of a stalemate towards the end, but then the final 25 minutes or so, it just all suddenly sprung to life.
Almost like a log flume. Do you know when it's really dull at the start? And you're going up the big rubber band and it's chug, 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 chug. And then it starts to kick into action. It felt like that.
I would love to, at some point, do a big kind of analysis of where your similes come from, because how on earth that's just come to your head, I have no idea, but it does make sense. I agree, Justin.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's all the coffees I drink and 9 o'clock coffee. That's what it does to you. But honestly, yeah, this game was so tight, and we can talk about the game plan from Regis Lebris and how it was executed very, very nicely throughout the game. But you can also argue that Coventry maybe didn't take the game to Sunderland as much as I thought they would, especially at the CBS. I thought they would really, really go after Sunderland. I know you can argue that they had a lot of the ball, but never really looked like they were going to threaten Sunderland at times until the game kicked into gear and just past the hour mark. But as I say, I think I'll come away more impressed by Sunderland's away performance than I do Coventry's home performance, because I thought Coventry were quite flat and Sunderland dictated the game defensively. It was great to watch.
Yeah. Well, from the perspective of it being 0-0 for 67 minutes and not many chances between the two sides, it was still an entertaining game, I thought. The tension was clearly there and being felt by the two sets of players, but it was clear that Sunderland had a game plan and were defending for their lives and then trying to counter Coventry whenever the opportunity arose. The only real chance of note from the first 67 minutes, which I've got written down in my notes, Justin, is Elias Mayenda nearly repeating his goal of the season contender, which he scored at Bristol City not too long ago, where he dribbled past four players from well within his own half, dragged it wide in the end. But that was a brilliant bit of play from him. But that was the closest either side came, really. Despite all Coventry's possession, the number of shots that they had never really seemed to have that golden opportunity and didn't really test Anthony Patterson in the Coventry goal too much. But the goal came in the 67th minute for Sunderland. Wilson Isidore firing Sunderland ahead after a brilliant assist by Enzo Lefebvre, Justin. There was slight hint of offside, but I think he may have just been on. But when that went in, I went, wow, because Sunderland going ahead. God, who saw that coming?
This game was destined to be 0-0, wasn't it? So nobody saw it coming. But I think as soon as you start to see Wilson Isidore peel off on the left, and this is why I was so excited by the Enzo Lefebvre signing back in January, or so interested by it, is because the link up play between him and Isidore can be fantastic. It can be brilliant. And we saw that here. We haven't seen it enough. Obviously, Lefebvre's been injured. Isidore's been out of form. But that's what they can do. Isidore knows to peel off on the left-hand side. He knows where to find that space, and Lefebvre knows how to find him. And it was a beautifully executed pass and a really good run and finish from Isidore, who still had a lot to do. A man who's not scored for a long time, by the way. And he took his goal
since February, Justin.
Yeah, and he took his goal like he's been scoring 6 in 6, for goodness sake. It was that confident. So yeah, it was a great ball, great assist, and a great run and goal from Isidore. One that we knew he's capable of more regularly. Just we're not seeing it since the cold turn of the year.
Just we've had comments flying in. We'll try to read out as many as possible, but the number of comments we've had coming in today, yeah, it's really firing in, guys. Dean Crane, Labrie always had a plan. Daniel McGuinn, this goes to show that all the ex-professionals interviewed were right. Players can just turn it on when it matters. Dennis Singleton, Enzo finally shown up today. Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to mention because obviously Enzo Lefebvre has been having his injury problems since joining Sunderland. He's not really captured the imagination like many people were hoping he would do since coming in. And then when he has been playing recently, hasn't really had much of an impact. But that moment there, that was just such an unbelievable bit of quality that shows what he can do. And he can have that quality that matters and make it count when the occasion arises, like it did there, Justin. So yeah, that was a perfect example of why, even though Enzo Lefebvre at times has maybe looked a bit pedestrian in a Sunderland shirt in his short Sunderland career so far, if he's still given the ball, he can still make magic happen.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just what he's capable of. And just a point I want to make, actually, something that you said heading into the playoffs was that you thought Sunderland was saving themselves. Apparently, they were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've not seen Isidore score. We've not seen Lefebvre show up and turn it on because Lefebvre was a passenger up until he made that pass. I thought he was quite poor up until then, and then he just switches it on. But that's what good players do, and like the ex-professionals that were interviewed before the game, they say they turn it on when it matters. They turn it on when the big games matter and the big moments arrive as well. So, yeah, full credit to Lefebvre, full credit to Isidore, but we had more drama to talk about there, Ryan.
Yeah, we did, because Coventry went pretty much straight up the other end, didn't they? In the 69th minute, Jack Rodoni equalising with a thumping header. As someone who appreciates a good header, Justin, you must have been all over that.
Oh, definitely. It was quite emphatic. They're the ones that, although they're very close to the goal, when they hit the net as hard as they do and make the net bulge as much as they do, ooh, dare I say, it was a lovely header. But again, when you're looking for big players, Coventry needed it because they were. I thought they were quite flat. I thought they were quite pedestrian at times and didn't do enough with possession. Jack Rodoni's the player you can look to create a spark, albeit, yes, it was from a brilliant Van Ilbeek run. Lefebvre didn't block the cross, worth bearing in mind. But Rodoni's there to head the ball in, and yeah, thumping header it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes to show what he can do and why he's still very much the danger man for Coventry in this tie. And from that point on, Coventry kept pushing and pushing, trying to make something else happen, but just could not find that extra goal. And it looked like the game was going to be heading for a draw. But then, Justin, in the 88th minute, Milan van Ewijk has the ball on the halfway line, tries to play a back pass to Ben Wilson in the Coventry goal, but Eliza Mayenda capitalises on it because it's gone short, takes it round Ben Wilson, slots it into the goal. Yeah, and Van Ewijk afterwards was absolutely devastated by it. You could see how much that has upset him. But what a moment in this tie, Justin. And Mayenda, considering he's such a young lad, never seemed fazed by the idea, did he either?
No. I think Ben Wilson. I'm not going to blame Ben Wilson for the goal because obviously it was Van Ewijk who played the really poor back pass. But Ben Wilson coming out as far as he did makes it easier for Mayenda to round him because Ben Wilson's a big boy. Mayenda's a very quick lad. It's always going to end in one scenario there. And, Mayenda had the composure to do that. But I think the game is so tight that it's the outcome there is on the back of a mistake from a defender who all had a very good game and has had a very good season in Van Ewijk. So I do feel for him. I really, really do. I mean, his assist was brilliant for Jack Rodoni. His assist was even better for Mayenda.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he'll thank you for saying that, but yeah, you're right. I think what he must have done there was not properly look up when he was playing the pass. Do you know what I mean? Because Mayenda has very much anticipated the ball going backwards, because if you watch the goal back, he is ready to track back and capitalise on that ball if it's not inch perfect. And if you're in Van Ewik's shoes, you've just got to overhit it, haven't you? Even if you
Yeah.
overhit it, then Wilson can still do something with it. But when it's like that, Wilson's completely left in no man's land, which is why I think maybe you're being a bit harsh on him, Justin, because Wilson's initially thinking, I've got to go out there and try to get to it. And then he realised he's not going to get to it. And then it's just made easy for me. And from there. But yeah, that one moment, that's just something you can't really, expect as a manager, isn't it? You can't make any accept those circumstances. And then when it happens, it just has left Coventry really in the lurch, which we'll talk about very shortly, Justin. But overall, you've got to say, Sunderland's game plan across the whole 90 minutes was absolutely spot on. And we can sit here and talk about Sunderland saving themselves with their form leading up to the playoffs. But that game plan, which Enzo Lefebvre set out from the start, was inch perfect. Sunderland knew their job. They knew they had to defend like Trojans, and they absolutely nailed it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. And I think you can really start to analyse things where with Coventry, it's quite routine where Matt Grimes drops into the defence and makes a back three, leaves the midfield of Coventry is really, really open, and then they're just attacking down the wide areas. Sunderland were gobbling it up. They really, really were. So I think, yeah, Brice had Coventry's number in that sense. He knew what they were going to do. He knew they were going to attack the wide areas. And he knew that his defenders. I mean, Dan Ballard, for example, he's been injured, and what a performance he's put in. It's
Justin, you want to hear something ridiculous about Dan
Go on.
Ballard? 20 clearances he made in this game. The most in a game all season was 21, and he's made 20 clearances in this game. And what a time to produce a stat like that.
Honestly, this is what I mean. You know what you're going to get with this Coventry team at times, which is why I probably fall on the critical side of Frank Lampard, because his teams can become very predictable. And I'm not going to get swallowed into that Frank Lampard debate because he's got Coventry into a really good place. But unfortunately, Regis Slippery's had a good game plan set out to basically second guess everything that Coventry did, and they did it accurately. I think the frustrating thing, or actually the funny thing, I should say, is Anthony Patterson was that boarding goal. He came flying out several times, taking out several defenders because he just wanted to get in on the action, because that's all Sunderland were doing, was just gobbling everything up.
Yeah, defensively, they were absolutely spot on, inch perfect, weren't they, from the word go? Defended brilliantly, and Patterson, as we say, didn't have a whole lot to do across the entire 90 minutes, apart from a couple of catches of crosses and what have you. Can't really recall him being particularly tested. And when that's happening in a playoff semi-final against a Coventry side who have been heading into this as the form team, away at Coventry as well, that goes to show that Brice has absolutely nailed this. And look, he's been coming in for a fair bit of criticism in recent weeks with Sunderland's form dropping off so much. But this was just a managerial masterclass from him. And I don't know why you're laughing, Justin. It was a managerial masterclass, because from the word go, you could see what Coventry, Sunderland's game plan was, and they've nailed it.
Yeah, I know. I laugh because there's almost a part of me where I'm going, well, are we getting carried away here? Actually, you look at Sunderland's record at Coventry is really, really poor. Sunderland's record generally heading into this game form-wise is really, really poor. All the media attention has been on Frank Lampard, rightly so. He's got his Coventry team from a very low place in the Championship into the playoffs. Momentum's with them. And Sunderland were the better side here, or the most effective side. I don't think I can really come away and say who was the better side or not, because actually I just think it was who managed the moments better, and Sunderland did that. It was a really, really good away performance. If you want to go away from home in a big game, get Regis Slippery on the blower, because that's how you handle it.
Yeah. That was, as far as a manager's performance in a game can go, that was 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 from him, because he absolutely nailed that tactically. I wanted to give a shout out as well for the 91st minute. Coventry have the ball. It gets put into the box. Haji Wright with his back to goal. He turns. He's just about to shoot from basically inside the 6-yard box, Justin. And then out of nowhere comes a flying Joe Bellingham, putting in what was an inch perfect last ditch tackle. And if he didn't make that, Coventry may have been walking away from this game with a point. But I just thought in that moment there, that goes to show that what a player he is, being able to anticipate the situation and what he had to do there and being able to pull off the tackle and time it as well as he did. I think that may be something that goes amiss in this game, because all the replays that you see on the telly tomorrow will be Van Ekwijk's pass and may end up putting it away. But that tackle there from Bellingham may be one of the things that sends Sunderland to Wembley, because that was just a magnificent bit of play from him. Also give a shout out for Enzo Lefay's corner in the 92nd minute, probably the worst corner I've ever seen, Justin, where he's evaded everyone and hit it straight out for a goal kick. Absolutely pathetic. We saw two lights and shades of Enzo Lefay in this game, really, didn't we? With his assistant at that moment to play there. But yeah, overall, Justin, Sunderland will be absolutely chuffed with that performance, won't they? And we'll talk more about the implications very shortly. But they'll be very happy, because I think they would have taken a draw, wouldn't they, heading into the final, 10 minutes of that game. So for them to be leaving Coventry with a 1-0 lead is magnificent, isn't it?
Well, when you talk about away games, it's massive. Obviously, Sunderland's form, we've said before, really, really poor. But Coventry at home under Frank Lampard have been brilliant. They've been brilliant. They've not dropped many points at all. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but they haven't lost many games under Frank Lampard. And as I say, haven't dropped many points. So actually to go to the CBS and come away with, I won't say 3 points, but a win is massive. And you take a huge cushion with you away from home, because obviously Coventry's away form again under Lampard, chalk and cheese really, it's quite poor. So Sunderland will go into that, get out of the stadium tonight with a lot of confidence, but we know things don't always work out that way in the playoffs. So it's one of those where you just you go home smiling, you have your night, go again next week.
Yeah, and they definitely will be. We'll talk more about that shortly. We've got some more comments. Justin, Dennis Singleton, an underrated part of the Mayenda goal was the pressure Enzo put Van Ekwijk under to make the mistake. Yep, completely agree with that. Dennis, Josh says we can't get carried away yet. We're only halfway through. Absolutely right as well. Matt's right as well, because he says the stadium light will be a cauldron on Tuesday. Yeah, we'll talk about that very shortly, Justin. But let's take a moment to look at how we did in our bet builder for this game from the previous show, brought to you by SBK. That's because a £10 stake was due to return £233 thanks to SBK's 25% boost. So we had over 12.5 shots for Coventry. They had 14, so a good start, Justin. We had Dan Neil to commit over 1.5 fouls. He only had the one, which seems mad. I could have swore he committed more fouls than that in this game. So no luck for us there. We didn't have any luck with our last two picks either. We had both teams score no and Coventry to win. So unfortunately, no success for us there, Justin. But let's now cast our eyes to the second leg on Tuesday night. And without a doubt, it's advantage Sunderland, Justin, heading into that.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's the fact that the mental side of things, where if are Coventry are they going to be as easily predictable going into that game? Yeah, they've got to take the game to Sunderland, and as we saw with this one, Sunderland can soak up the pressure really, really well, and all they've got to do is hit Coventry on the counter. And then when you've got lightning players like Mayenda and Isidore who can peel off in wide areas, you do start to feel a little bit more confidence on it. That was a real confidence boosting performance from a pundit's point of view, because I look at that team and I go, yeah, you have still got it. That's the Sunderland that we saw between August and November. Really effective defensive football, quick on the counter, take your chances and make it really, really stodgy for opposition. That's what I really got behind in the first few months of the season. So, yeah, definitely advantage Sunderland, both scoreline wise and psychologically.
Yeah, all the talk that I saw heading into this was, Coventry are the form team, and I saw a lot of people talking about how good a job Lampard's done, and surely Coventry should be heading into this looking to be getting past Sunderland because of Sunderland's form. But I was still looking into it, and I did say in the previous show I thought Sunderland to win the tie in general. I know there's still a whole 90 minutes to go, so we shouldn't get too carried away just yet. But a lot of people seem to almost discount Sunderland, which I thought was very unfair because overall, Sunderland are still a very, very talented side, and as we saw tonight, have a very, very good manager as well. So this was a great reminder of that, which kind of just echoing what you just said there, Justin. You know, this Sunderland side have given a lot of very tough teams very good games this season, and even though their form has dropped off very significantly in the run up to the playoffs, for whatever reason, was it because they didn't have any motivation, for the lack of a better term, heading into these sets of games? I don't know, but now that they've got here, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, that sometimes a group of players, they just acknowledge the occasion, they make that step up and make themselves counted. And that's exactly what we saw from Sunderland here tonight.
Do you know what's an interesting comparison is Scott Parker's Fulham side? They're really difficult side to watch, but they beat the favourites, didn't they, in Brentford in that final because they managed the game better. They had a game plan and they set out to play it and they did it really, really well. And that's what it reminds me of. Obviously, I don't think Fulham were in as poor a form going into the playoffs as Sunderland, but they weren't particularly convincing and they had better teams to play. But as you said, it comes down to managing the occasion. It comes down to your manager getting your tactics absolutely bang on, and Sunderland did all of that. Don't get me wrong, Frank Lampard's done this before. Obviously, we go way back to Leeds derby. Leeds take a 1-0 away win back to Ellen Road, and Lampard changed it to our 4-4-2 diamond. Couple of changes just before half time, and the game spins so quickly. It can happen. It's the playoffs. We know this. But I think if Sunderland play with the same mindset and mentality they did at the CBS, they'll get the win. They'll go to Wembley.
Yeah, well, another thing to keep in mind is here, Justin, Coventry have done it before as well, haven't they? If you think back to the playoff final a couple of years ago, or playoff semi-finals a couple of years ago, where they faced Middlesbrough, they played out a goalless draw at the CBS Arena and went up to the North East, ironically, and they got the 1-0 win, which took them to Wembley. And not many people were fancying Coventry in that game because Middlesbrough had such a fantastic season. Many were tipping them as the favourites to win the entire playoffs, but then Coventry got past them. And defied a lot of expectation there. So they'll have to do that again here, won't they? I was making the point in the previous show about how poor Coventry's away from. I keep getting them mixed up tonight, don't I? But Coventry's away form in recent times has been pretty poor because they've lost to the likes of Derby, Plymouth, Luton in the last few weeks. So that's going to be something they've got to rectify. But it's a big mountain to climb, isn't it? Because obviously they're going to the Stadium of Light, one of the trickiest places to ever go on an away trip. So the odds are very much stacked against Coventry, and that's why it's going to take something pretty impressive for them now to pull something out the bag and get them on their way to Wembley, Justin.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, isn't it? And I think as well, you've got to become unpredictable in this team, and I just don't think Lampard's had enough time with his group. He's taken over in November. He's rode the crest of a wave. I know you bring up the Carrick Borough example with Coventry. Probably a similar scenario back then when Coventry beat them a couple of years ago. So there's that to bear in mind as well. That being said, I think they've got enough players, Coventry, to flip a game on its head. I just think Lampard needs to find a way to trigger it. And like I said, apparently the commentators were saying before the game today that playoff semi-final against Leeds for Derby, Frank Lampard was training the 4-4-2 diamond for weeks heading into it. And he worked a treat. So maybe there's something we can expect going into the return leg. But like I said, I think if Coventry played the way they did and Sunderland played the way they did, I wouldn't say it'll be a breeze, but it'll be a comfortably uncomfortable evening, if that makes sense.
A comfortably uncomfortable evening.
Yeah, you're going a little bit nervous, you're biting your fingernails, but ultimately nothing happens.
Okay. I think that makes sense. I'm not sure it does, but I kind of understand what you're saying. But yeah, it is going to be a big mountain to climb for Coventry. The other issue is if it was 1-1, like it was up until the 87th minute, then Coventry would be like, okay, not the result we were looking for, but we'd probably take that. Being a goal behind obviously leaves them, they're going to have to pull something special out of the bag here, particularly because now Sunderland, they don't have to go out, do they? If they have the same game plan here where they're more than happy to kind of sit back, wait for Coventry to come at them and then break, they can employ that same tactic all over again at home now. And Coventry, as we've discussed plenty in the past 25 minutes or so, Justin, really struggled to deal with that. They really struggled to break that down, didn't they? So now Coventry have to try and do something about that if Sunderland do go that way again on Tuesday night, which is going to be really, really tricky for them to do because, as we saw, Coventry didn't really have an answer for that throughout the entire 90 minutes. So now that makes it extra interesting heading into that game. And with that being said, Justin, it's looking very, very appetising now for Tuesday night, isn't it? Because how this is going to play out is going to be really interesting because Sunderland, how do they approach it? Do they, sit on that lead, or do they try and extend it and make it a lot more comfortable for themselves?
I think they will be happy to manage the game the way they did tonight. They'll be happy to not play for a draw, but they'll be comfortable doing what they're doing. And if a moment arises, they'll take it because that's what we've seen. And that's this sort of tournament football you need to approach the playoffs with. It's a mindset you need to approach the playoffs with, and I think Regis Lebris has got it bang on here, which is a surprise. I think with Coventry, it's a waste of a home leg when you think about it, because they should have gone for Sunderland. They should have really taken it to him. Should have been a little bit more, I wouldn't say unpredictable, but a little bit more spicy. They were a bit bland. They were a bit salted and vinegar. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And as I say, it's a waste of a home leg, and then you've got it all to do and all to climb. You have a very big hill to climb. Trying to turn the game over at the Stadium of Light. And as I say, I think if Sunderland approach it with the same attitude, where they don't have to go, I don't think they have to go out and open themselves up. They can easily play this one the way they want to play it. They can dictate the pace of the game, and I think they'll be comfortable doing so because, simply put, Coventry didn't do enough in the 90 minutes previous. Are they going to do it again in the other 90 minutes? Don't know. Probably not.
No. Well, the other thing to mention is, just before we start wrapping up, is Coventry at home have been astonishing recently under Lampard. 7 wins in 8 they've had. So for them to lose this game, I mean, a draw would have been disappointing, but for them to lose this game, really kind of capitalises on the disappointment that we've been talking about here. And with Coventry's away form, going to the Stadium of Light, I know we're kind of repeating ourselves when we say that, but it kind of just shows that this is a massive missed opportunity for Coventry to really gain themselves the upper hand, because now they've got it all to do heading into that second leg. Final comment here from Dan Abbott. I hate that we're the favourites now. We're better when nobody expects anything from us. Obviously, a Sunderland fan saying that. Very much the case, because look how it ended up going into this game. So, yeah. Be a very Sunderland thing to throw it away at this stage, wouldn't it? Is what I'd say.
How the turntables, eh? Sunderland going from losing 6 in a row to being the favourites for getting to Wembley. Incredible.
Yeah. Funny how things work out, isn't it? We put a poll out to our viewers here on our YouTube live stream, Justin. Who is making it to Wembley? 84% of people said Sunderland, 16% said Coventry, which just kind of to show the magnitude of what Coventry are up against now. But before we go, it's time to reveal the winner of our Jameson Bottle and Puma Ball Bundle giveaway. We've received plenty of comments on this. We've received actually a ridiculous amount of comments throughout this. But we can now announce our winner. Congratulations to Phil O'Brien. You've won yourself a Jameson Bottle and Puma Ball Bundle. Get in touch with us by emailing secondtierpod@gmail.com to claim your prize, and we'll be in touch with details on that. So well done, Phil, and well done to everyone for watching this and getting involved in the conversation along the way on this live stream reaction straight off the back of Coventry v Sunderland. Sunderland very much having the upper hand heading into that second leg. Wouldn't say they've got 1 foot in the final just yet, Justin. Maybe a little toe Maybe they've got
Yeah,
a little,
toes in the water.
pinky,
Yeah.
pinky in Wembley. We'll say that, shall we? But there we go, ladies and gents. This has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks,
I've been Justin Peach.
and a big thank you for listening.